Get back and laugh. Just cracking up laughing. I love it. Get a couple more. Just make sure. A couple more like this. Right there, just like that. Don't move. That's it. Just look straight off that. Right there. Got you. Stay right there, please. Excellent. One more color. We'll wrap this series up. Come on, walk. Right. Wow. That's cute. Like that.
Check this out.
Oh, really? We've stayed in too many hotels. Okay. Let's give it a couple more.
I'll move. I'll just.
You got it. I got one more shot for you again.
Okay, what's the F? Yeah, me or you or?
You guys freeze there, guys. Just for 1 second. Just freeze there.
One right here.
What's your name?
Nicholas.
What's your name? What's your name?
Bailey.
Nice. Thanks, guys.
Madison.
What is it?
Madison.
Oh, nice to meet you, Miss Madison.
Stay right there. I see you. Okay. I got you. Young Ray. Here we go. I don't want to walk through that door. Someone coming? Oh, you being a funny girl, huh? I got you. Stay right there. Oh, make a smile. But not as Yeah, let's have a little bit of fun for God's sake. There you go. That's what I want. Fun stuff. There you go. Beautiful. Let me make sure everything is perfect. Okay, here it is. Fun stuff again. Fun. Dance a little bit for me. There you go. Right there. Hold it. Now, right there. No, go back. And go straight out the window. Bring your arms down so we can see your face. Kurt.
Oh, are you the video guy?
I'm William.
They look pretty. They just called the bridesmaids. Yeah, I heard wait that. Until they went out. Okay, I'm just taking a picture of the front door.
Is that Dixon? Yes, it is. Welcome to.
Tell me if you want me to smile.
I want big, then I want small. I want the big
Wow.
Hi. Welcome to Ashland Manor. Right here.
Okay, you. Okay,
That's three.
Oh, I like that. Do that again. Please, right there. Oh yeah, bridesmaids. You girls ready to start flying around? Hold on. This bridesmaid's hand is time go. Oh yeah. All right.
Want me out of this picture so they can go? Do you want me in?
I want you. All right, I like it. You got it? You got him up there? Is he getting you guys up there?
Oh, he's over there. Okay.
I think we're out line.
Okay, yeah. Oh, there's a
I'll call him.
Okay.
Ours is upstairs. No, mine's in
All right, girl, it's showtime.
All right.
Come here, sweetie. Natasha, come here now.
Am I still there?
That That was real. Let me see that again, please. There you go. Got it. Eyes on me. Time. Okay, cool. Okay. You know.
That was fun. I actually beat my character by 100th of a second. To an Indian wedding, and in the middle of the ceremony, the father's cell phone rang, and he picks it up and says, "Hey, yeah," and he just starts walking around. And then he hands the phone to the groom. "Hey, it's your uncle from India." And I go, "Oh, okay." And the ceremony continued.
Am I wet?
No, you look good.
I'll take it. We're all well. You know what I can
Don't worry about this.
birthday suit?
Still drawing. You can do what you want. Yes, sir. They got a fan and they can see what. Yeah, I thought so too. West. Oh, yes. Here comes Dirk. Well, you have to spot swipe. Jody. And then I saw Dirk walking around the corner. Yeah, there's only three.
No matter what.
Yeah.
I guess
Just practice. Maybe she won't good practice. Yeah, I don't know. I thought she did. Yeah. And they need the. Here comes Natasha. Well, I mean, I can. So you almost have to run over there.
I don't know. What do you think? Most definitely.
Who gives this woman to be wedded to this man?
Her mother and I do.
Thanks. Look amazing. Absolutely stunning.
Stephan and Tammy would like to welcome you to their wedding ceremony today, this very special time of celebration in their lives and in your lives as well, because you're here as their family and their friends and their loved ones. And those who get to celebrate, be joyful, or cry together, and to share in those tears with Tammy and Stephan today as well, because it's an incredibly beautiful time as they celebrate their love together. And they've invited me to invite you to be able to share in this celebration today and truly make it a celebration. We're outdoors. You don't have to worry. You can celebrate. You can say what you need to say at the right time and be a part of this ceremony together today. And I invite you to bow your heads with me as we invite God to be with us today. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for being here in front of us, God, and for blessing Stephan and Tammy. Thank you for the love that they shared together today. Thank you for the friendship that they've developed, first of all. But together today, God, they are choosing to commit their love to one another for the rest of their lives. And we count it a special privilege to be part of that family and friends who can be here today to celebrate with them. We ask that you speak to us today, God, through your Holy Spirit, and empower them to be able to make that commitment of love towards one another. We thank you for your presence and your Spirit and this love together that we celebrate today. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. like I've never seen the sky before. Want to vanish inside your kiss. Every day I love you more and more. Listen to my heart, can you hear it say, telling me to give you everything. Seasons may change, winter to spring, but I love you until the end of time. Come what may, come what may, I will love you until my dying day.
Suddenly the world seems such a perfect place. Suddenly the world filled with a perfect grace. Suddenly my life doesn't seem such a waste. It all revolves around you, and there's no mountain too high, river too wide.
Sing out this song and I'll be there by your side.
Together, stars make a line.
But I love you. But I love you
I love you
until the end.
until the end of time.
Come what may, come what may, I will love you until my dying day. Oh, come what may, come what may, I will love you.
I will love you. Suddenly the world seems such a perfect place.
Come what may, come what may, I will love you until my dying day.
Or
Well, today our reading is coming from the love chapter in the Bible. It's 1 Corinthians chapter 13. I'll be reading verses 4 through 13 from the New International Version of the Bible. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast. It is not proud, it is not rude, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. Where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part and prophesy in part, but when perfection comes, the imperfect disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put childish ways behind me. Now we see but poor reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love.
Very privileged this afternoon to be officiating the wedding. Stephan and Tammy. Known you guys for a long time. Stephan, I was realizing last night I met you when you were 15 years old. Doesn't seem possible. Tammy, you're a little bit older, but I've known you for about 12 years as well. And when Stephan called me and invited me to do the wedding, I thought, great. Tammy's from Santa Barbara, beautiful beach wedding. He said, yes. And I said, oh, it's in Houston. I said, thank you very much, Stephan. I'm so glad to get to celebrate today in Houston, the new home of soon-to-be Mr. and Mrs. Stephan and Tammy DiBiase. Has a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
Yep.
Many thousands of years ago, God himself got to celebrate the very first wedding in the Garden of Eden, in a beautiful garden, very much like today, I'm sure, with a very handsome groom and a gorgeous bride, as they committed to love each other together for the rest of their lives. And today, I'm sure, very similar to this, because today you are committing yourselves with that same kind of love and affection for one another. But it wasn't such completely like this, because after all, Adam was missing a rib the very first time he met his wife, and we, engineers wouldn't dare to be missing a rib when they did that with a Stephan. And when Adam and Eve got married, they only had one choice. But you two have a lot of choices when it comes to marriage and who you get to marry. And so I wanted to read you a few things about how you decide who to marry today. Well, this is what a few kids had to say. The first kid said, you flip a nickel. Heads means you stay with him. Tails means you try the next one. That was Kelly. You got to find somebody who likes the same stuff. Like if you like sports, she should like it that you like sports and keep the chips and dip coming. That's Alan. No person really decides before they grow up who they're going to marry. God decides it all way beforehand, and you get to find out later on who you're stuck with. So maybe the two of you today weren't stuck with each other, but it wasn't a sure thing that the two of you were going to be together either. After all, there were some things that might have come between the two of you. First of all, there was the fact that you guys lived approximately 2,148 miles apart from each other when you met. And Tammy was with another guy. And then there was always the meddling relatives who had cooked up their master scheme to get the two of you together. And we know what disaster sometimes awaits for those meddling relatives when they get involved. And then there was the fact that Stephan didn't know anything at all about being a dad already, even to someone as sweet as Bailey.
Yeah,
and
that's a good guy.
That was going to be a learning experience as well. But despite those things, when the two of you met, there was something that you hadn't expected, and that was possibility. There was the possibility that the two of you, wow, all that Tammy really knew about Stephan was that he was Tanya's younger brother, and she figured he was, more on the Italian side. And when she saw the German-looking guy, she thought, wow, imagine that, possibility. And then as the two of you got to know each other a little bit, you both realized that you were each more than just a pretty face, that you really both had wonderful, good hearts beneath those pretty faces too, and that you both had a passion for God and letting God lead you in your lives, and that you both loved sports and the outdoors and doing active things together, and you liked to travel. And then there was the really cool things, like the fact that you had the same kind of quirky senses of humor. And, some people call them goofy theatrics. I don't know if that's appropriate, but that's what they said. But you each recognized in each other a certain kindness, a certain depth. You knew that there was something beneath. And not only was there something already beneath, you sensed in each other the fact that there was a possibility of the two of you growing together as well. Because as Stephan put it, he found in you, Tammy, the missing puzzle piece for his life. Somebody who could look inside of him and see some of those rough edges and help him, kind of smooth them out a little bit. And in you, he found, Tammy, also somebody who made him want to smooth out those rough edges as well. And that is something incredibly beautiful. Tammy, for you and Stephan, you found a man who was well educated and had traveled a lot and had a lot of experiences, could talk very well, smoothly about almost any topic that you brought up. Very interesting man to be with, and yet a humble, patient teacher. Somebody who was willing to help you grow as well, who saw beneath you possibility as well, not just what you already had, which he was already attracted to. And that's a gift that the two of you have together today. You're both well-rounded already, people who've grown deeply already, but yet who see in each other the possibility of growing even deeper and of maturing even further, and of even coming to know your God together in a different way. All of that, of course, seemed a long ways off when you met the very first time, because not only was there the 1,000 miles and the meddling relatives and all those other things, but the meddling relatives were actually multiplying. Besides Doug and Tanya, soon it was Mark, Eric, and Sue who were moving up to Coeur d'Alene as well. And during that time, Tammy, you'd been seeking God in your life. The direction that you wanted to go in your life. You wanted to know what should I be doing? And you've been praying a lot about that. In the middle of those prayers came an answer that you didn't expect, a phone call from Stephan, who said, Tammy, I think you should come skiing with me and some of my buddies out up in Canada. And it just so happened that some of the meddling relatives happened to be free and available to go skiing with you, which makes you wonder if they didn't have all that together already. But they were free, and you thought, why am I going to worry so much about the future? Let me take a shot at the present. And you decided to go skiing with Stephan and his friends. And I think the story goes that after a few nights in the hot tub sharing time together and talking together, Tammy, I think you were quoting Shrek when you said we began to peel back the layers of the onion and reveal ourselves to one another and the depths of one another. And you began in that process to begin to ask yourselves the question, could he really be the one? Could she really be the one? And the answer to that question was yes. Yes. And Stephan, you asked Tammy months later when you were in Europe traveling together, I think Wiesbaden, in Germany, if she would say yes to you. And she said,
yes. Yeah. Jawohl.
But I want to tell you something about traveling. Stephan, I know that was part of your master plan, because you told me that one of your adages is those who travel well together stay together. And although I believe that as well, because traveling does tend to bring out the best and the worst in you, I want to tell you guys together today that that's not completely true. There are things a lot harder in life than traveling through Europe and Canada and Hawaii together. There really are.
There are? No, just kidding.
And setting up a home together, being together every day, being lovers and friends and parents, people who work together and have lives together is a lot more challenging than being traveling around the world. But at that time in Germany, when you said yes to each other, you committed yourselves to be together on this journey, to travel together on this journey during the coming months and years, and even during the coming months following that time. You've learned a great deal about each other and developed deeper and deeper friendships together. And you've fallen more and more in love with one another. And you've found out that all those things you thought you knew about the other person, you're just scratching the surface. You don't really even know this other person hardly at all yet. But you're committing and covenanting together today that despite the challenges of traveling this life together, that you are going to be friends, lovers, and godly men and women to one another for the rest of your lives. Tammy, you told me that you love Stephan so much that it brings you to tears. And we're hoping and praying for you guys that together those tears will always be tears of joy as the two of you. But I'm sure that occasionally you might have some other kinds of tears as well. And in that process, you're committing yourselves together today. Say, I'm committing to learn about this person in every conceivable and possible way. And the two of you truly are blessed together today as best friends as you celebrate life together, or the beginning of life together today. Let me take you back for a minute there to the Garden of Eden, because although it may not have been quite as hot for Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, Adam, he didn't have a really easy day, because he was out there by himself naming all these animals. And, he was getting really tired of coming up with new names. I mean, there's elephant and kangaroo and giraffe, and after a while it gets really kind of boring. And as he was looking around, he did notice something about he noticed that there was Mr. and Mrs. Elephant, and that he really didn't have anyone to, wrap his trunk up with, and so to speak. And so he asked God about that. He said, God, I don't have a helpmate. And God said, you're right. You're right. Adam, Stephan, yeah. And all of a sudden he was waking up from this sleep, and he saw in front of him this vision, streaming in the light, dressed in white, taller than he might have imagined, beautiful brown hair, wonderful smile, very cute dimples. And he thought, God, I knew you were good, but I did not know you were this good. And truly, Stephan, ever since that day, man has been praising God that he created woman.
Yes.
And as an engineer, you might appreciate the fact that the Hebrew word for make, for a woman, has to do with architecturally designing the woman. Getting the curves just right and the smile just so. However, Tammy, sad to say, when God made man, it's a different Hebrew word. It's more like the potter's wheel, where you just put some mud on here and you put some mud on there, until he ended up with man. And that's what you have today. But you're still as much a gift to each other as Adam and Eve were back in that day. But God had much more in mind, Tammy, for Eve than just beauty. He created her and him to be helpmates. This word help in Hebrew comes from the same word as savior, or to save. He created man and woman to save each other. And they were to do it by being mates. And this word has to do with kind of interacting, and not always pleasantly, by coming together and hashing things out. And together in that process, you are called to be helpmates. People who come together to hash things out, to be able to bring each other to perfection and completion, and indeed to save each other. And that is what you guys are together today. You are each other's saviors. And you two have a lot of things in common. As we've already mentioned, some of the outdoor things in family, some of the depth of meaning and faith that you have in God together. And you will need those things as you journey along through life together, because it's not always easy. Socrates, who I'm not sure if was married or not, but this is what he said. He said, by all means marry, Stephan. If you get a good wife, you'll become happy. If you get a bad one, you'll become a philosopher. So whether you're happy or a philosopher, you get the chance, both of you, to grow together, individually, because of this connection and this choice that you're each making together today. Someone else has said, one of the best wedding gifts God gave you was a full-length mirror called your spouse. If there'd been a card attached, it would have said, here's to helping you discover what you're really like. Because marriage is the great revealer of what you are really like. But if you commit today, as you are doing, to grow together in that process, to learn about yourselves, and as well as about the other person, you two will truly be blessed, because there's a great deal for the two of you to learn about each other. There's so many blessings and gifts that you two are already to each other. It will not be easy. Catherine Ann Porter wrote, it's hard to be entirely faithful, even to things, ideas, above all the person one loves. There is no such thing as perfect faithfulness any more than there is perfect love or perfect beauty. But it is fun trying. And it will not be perfect. There is not perfect love. But together today, you are committing to have fun trying, and in this process, to save each other, to grow up together and individually to be the man and the woman that God has called you to be. And Stephan, when Adam sees Eve, he breaks into spontaneous poetry and he says, this is now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, and she shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man. And God continues, for this reason, a man will leave his father and his mother and be united with her, and they shall be one flesh. And that is what you two are committing yourselves to together today. In the passage that Greg read earlier from 1 Corinthians chapter 13, it talks about the kind of love that you're committing and covenanting together to have. But I want you to notice something about that love. It starts off as kind of baby love. Some people call it infatuation. And it moves on into the deeper and deeper kind of love. And that kind of spiritual love for one another only comes because we have faith in the kind of God who offers that kind of grace that we need to offer one another. He continues to pour out his grace and his mercy and his love on us, no matter when we don't do the right things or say the right things or we fall short. And it is that model of grace that God offers to each of you that he's calling you to offer to each other. Because it won't be perfect and it won't always be easy. but it, by God's grace, will be fun trying as you together make that covenant of commitment together. In olden times when people made a covenant to one another, they would get together every once in a while to check it out and say, did we do the things we promised and covenanted to one another? And today I want to encourage you to do that on a regular basis. Stephan, for you to ask yourself, am I doing what I promised Tammy I would do on our wedding day? That am I really loving her the way that she deserves to be loved? Because this is one wonderful woman, and I know you know that. And because she's such a wonderful woman, she deserves to be loved in that way. And Tammy, you're marrying a wonderful guy too. And because he's a wonderful guy, he deserves to be loved in that way too. And you're making that commitment together today to love him in that way. So if you've come here together today to make that commitment and covenant to one another, I'm going to ask you to say a few words together to one another in just a moment. Words that will change your lives for better, because they're words of faithfulness and words of commitment, and they're words that give you the opportunity to be like God to one another. They're words that change you, because up to now you've been many things. You've been everything from fellow travelers and adventurers to best friends. But now you get to say to the world, world, this is my husband, and world, this is my wife. You ready? All right. Who wants to go first? Stephan, then you get to
I'll
go
go
first.
first.
Okay, you can repeat after me. Before God and these witnesses,
Before God and these witnesses,
I, Stephan,
I, Stephan,
take you, Tammy,
take you, Tammy,
to be my lawful wife,
to be my lawful wife,
to have and to hold,
from this day forward,
for better and for worse,
for better and for worse,
for richer and for poorer,
for richer and poorer,
in sickness and in health, until death do us part.
till death do us part.
This is my solemn vow.
This is my solemn vow.
Tammy. Before God and these witnesses,
For God and these witnesses,
I, Tammy,
I, Tammy,
take you, Stephan,
take you, Stephan,
to be my lawful husband,
to be my lawful husband,
to have and to hold,
to have and to hold,
from this day forward,
from this day forward,
for better or for worse,
for better, for worse,
for richer or for poorer,
for richer, for poorer,
in sickness and in health,
in sickness and in health,
until death do us part.
until death do us part.
This is my solemn vow.
This is my solemn vow.
Now, in the presence of these witnesses, you, Stephan, and Tammy have chosen to exchange rings together. This exchange of rings, so these rings are a beautiful symbol of the love that you're committing and covenanting together to have for one another. Because just as the ring is a circle, and as such it never ends, it's the kind of love that you're choosing and committing together to have together. And so we invite you to be able to make that.
Sweaty.
Yep.
Just untie it.
Okay.
Okay. Is that the right hand?
Yep.
Okay. Just jam it on there.
Thank you, Dirk.
Stephan and Tammy, now having pledged your faith in and love to each other, and having expressed your commitment before God and the fellowship of this community, and having given yourselves completely to each other, declaring it publicly by the giving and exchanging of rings. Now acting in the authority given to me by the laws of this state and looking to God for his continued approval, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Stephan, you may now kiss your bride. I now have the honor of being the first to present to you Mr. and Mrs. Tammy and Stephan DiBiase.
It was perfect. I know. Oh, really? It's amazing.
Yeah, that's true. No. Nope. Really good. Just keep praying for them. So around 20. 3 more this year.